Coming up on episode 364 of Wheel Bearings, we got the Volkswagen ID4 Pro S all-wheel drive, the Porsche Taycan Turbo S Cross Turismo, the Hyundai Santa Fe, VW ID Buzz pricing, Ford's change in EV plans, Tesla purging old full self-driving claims, BMW overtaking Tesla in European sales, Chevrolet won't be bringing the Chinese-developed Equinox plug-in hybrid to America, and an update to the 2025 Ford Bronco Sport. All that and more coming up next.
What, you going to leave now?
All right. This is episode 364 of Wheel Bearings. I'm Sam Abul Samid, and I'm from Guidehouse Insights.
It sounded like you forgot, and I am from, like you had to think for a second.
Where do I work?
Who are you?
Monday.
I am Nicole Wakeland, and I am from Car Buzz. Confidently, I know.
Confidently. And I am pretty sure I'm pretty sure I'm Roberto Baldwin from SAE International.
Well, this is the fourth podcast I've recorded in the past week. So,
oh my goodness!
Yesterday, I did the Shift Mobility podcast with Pete Bigelow from Automotive News on Friday, and then I did The Inevitable with Johnny Lieberman and Ed Lowe from Motor Trend on Tuesday. So
you've been around.
Yes, been getting around. Been cheating on you guys.
That's fine.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Who wants to go first?
I think Nicole wants to go first. No,
I actually can't go first because I got squared away.
No, I'm going to go first now, just because you want to.
No, I am. I've got my Monroney right here. No, you can't. Okay, so right. I had the Hyundai Santa Fe. I had it twice. I had the Santa Fe once here where I was home, and once where I was in Philadelphia for a loaner while I was at a family wedding. The fact that I got the same vehicle at the same time in two different locations, no one coordinating. So I truly had like a whole week in it. Just two different physical.
Nice. That worked out.
Yeah, it worked out.
Good.
So I really like the Santa Fe. So it's all new this year. It's completely, doesn't look anything like the old Santa Fe. It looks very Defender to me. It's very squared off. And everybody.
It's also kind of like a mini Flex.
A mini Flex, but it doesn't have that weird seam in the door. I never liked the seam kind of thing detail they had in the door. The Flex, the little
like it's like aluminum siding.
Yeah, I didn't like the car. I never liked that. That was like no, not for me. That was like a deal breaker for me. So I had the it's available as a gas or hybrid. I have the gas engine, a 2.5 liter turbo 4 with 277 horsepower and 311 pound-feet of torque. And you get an 8-speed automatic with that. It's plenty of power to get this moving. I mean, this isn't like a sporty car. It's big. The Santa Fe is a 3-row SUV. But it's perfectly fine. I did find we were driving through these very windy roads. I don't know if anyone's ever been outside of Philadelphia, but the roads are all very twisty turny. You immediately feel like you're in the countryside in the middle of nowhere, and you're taking these turns very sharply. They're very narrow roads with old houses on either side. There were lots of deer that were terrifying because I swear to God, I thought they were all going to jump out at me. But taking those corners a little fast, you do start to feel a little bit of the size of the Santa Fe. Like you feel like, oh, I want to slow down because it's a little bit too wobbly. But on the highway, it was fantastic, super comfy. Really like the car. And it was so confusing how Hyundai did this. I think they're just trying to all mess with us because there was the Hyundai Santa Fe, and then it had been 2 or 3 rows, depending on, I don't know, what the moon was doing that year. There was the Santa Fe XL, which is a standalone 3-row model for a while. There was the Santa Fe Sport, which was a standalone 2-row version for a while. Now we just have Santa Fe with 3 rows. That's all you get. But it's very confusing if you look like prior years because like, what the heck? There's all these different things. So I think they were a mess.
Well, they alternate every generation. They go from just a 2-row to a 2-row and a 3-row, and then back to a 2-row because the last generation was a 2-row only after they introduced the Palisade. Yes. And now they're back to a 3-row.
A 3-row. Because why keep it consistent and make the car the same thing for multitude of years?
Why? Well, now they can just like say if you want, you just get the 3-row and just pull the back seats down. They're like, you know what? Yeah. Just give them the 3-row. Make it easy. Let's save some money on manufacturing.
Just
one less trim level.
They want. I do like that the tailgate opening is huge. Like it's the back of that looks like a giant square. It's very square. And when you open it, it is very square. I remember at the launch, they said you can put an entire, I think a full size air mattress will fit right in there. So you could technically camp in your Santa Fe because
so is that like an air mattress that is the equivalent of a regular full-size mattress?
I believe
that what they mean by that?
What I was told, as I'm remembering, and mind you, this was like what, March, that it was a full-size air mattress. They said they could fit in there.
Okay.
I didn't ask for specific measurements, Sam.
I will say that if you have any sort of wagon or hatchback, if you look online, you can find like air mattresses that are specific to your vehicle.
You can. So if you're the one you happen to buy it, whatever, Walmart doesn't fit, go online if you're someone who really like wants to do that a lot, and you'll find someplace that makes exactly the air mattress for your make and model that fits in the back of your car, which is kind of cool. But it was also great for carrying luggage because we had a lot of luggage and stuff and hauling things around to this. And it was, I mean, it's a nice, comfy ride. There's some things that I really like about it. One thing I don't like, the thing that I don't like that is a cool feature that is not, is behind the ABC C-pillar. I had to like do my alphabet. There's a little handle, like a little grab handle. The C-pillar like goes pop and it pops in at the top and you can grab onto that. And the idea is that you can grab onto that little spot and you can leverage yourself up if you had stuff stored on top of the vehicle, like whatever, your cargo, random cargo. Sounds great, except it's too far to the right. So you're not kind of putting your hand in front of you and lifting up, which is what you naturally want to do, like have your hands sort of just on either side. It's way out to the right. I'm like, that's not leveraging me up.
Well, I think the idea is you're actually supposed to step up on the top edge of the tire.
Yeah, I tried that. I tried stepping up on the top edge of the tire. There's not a lot of clearance between your foot and the wheel well. Like when you put your foot in there, like your foot is hitting the car. Like, so it's not easy to do. And it's not a small tire. So I'm like, if I can leverage myself up on that tire, I can probably leverage myself up just fine with the roof rails but yeah. And it was funny. Russ tried it and my daughter tried it and they all said the same thing. It's too far to the right. Russ is like, well, I can get up on the tire, but even he's like, wow, that's a step onto the tire. So it's really cool, but I find it oddly placed. I love the idea of it, but I don't like the actual location. Reality. The reality of it is not as good. What I do like is that it says H everywhere. Like if you forgot you're driving a Hyundai, it reminds you. There's an H, the pattern for the lights in the back, the pattern for the lights in the front, the way the vents are designed inside the car. If you look at the seats, there's a pattern on the seats that's an H. If you look at the back of the seats, there's another pattern that's an H. It's like, by all means, they want you to never forget that you are, in fact, in a Hyundai. And it does look kind of cool. It's like, you're not going to find anything else like it because it's unique to them and it's unique to this vehicle. So it does make this look very different than other vehicles. So I do like that. I like that it has a nice it's a 12.3 inch touchscreen. They got wireless CarPlay and Android Auto, but I love the dual wireless charging. Have you guys seen how this is set up in the Santa Fe? I don't know if either of you have seen it.
I have one coming next week, I think.
It's awesome. So on the center console, there's like a little, it's like set down. So your phone can't slide right or left and shoot around, under your feet when you take a corner. But there's two right next to each other. You put it on there, it snicks right in there. And it's easy to it just fits perfectly. And it's big enough that you could put a fairly large phone in there. I love how they set it up and it stays put. So often they slide around and you can still see it if for some reason something. So I just like that it sounds like a small thing, but it's one of those really frustrating things when it's not well done. So I really like that another thing that I thought was odd, but I'm like, okay, in the, tell me your car was designed during the pandemic without telling me your car was designed during the pandemic. There is a UFC sanitizer pod. So you know how a lot of vehicles have the regular glove box that folds down and they have a little smaller one that folds up? This has a really smaller one with a door that lifts up that you can put your phone, if you had keys, your sunglasses, whatever you want to put in there, and you push a button that's right by where the wireless charging pad is. And I forgot the amount of time that it runs, but it has a little light and it tells you that it's going. And when it's done, you have sanitized your stuff.
Cool.
I think it's about 5 minutes or so.
Yeah, I feel like it's 5
That's
minutes.
pretty
It's not
cool.
very long.
I feel like that's probably a feature that's been available in Korea, but because of the pandemic, it's now available
That might be.
here.
I don't know. That
I
could
can't
be.
talk today.
But that would make sense. It seems like something they would have. But yeah, now we have it too. It's just kind of it's neat. And if you're not using it for the sanitizer, you could put whatever you want in there. You don't have, it can when it's not sanitizing, it's just a little storage pod up there. So I think that's kind of neat. Although I don't know how often I would think to myself, like I did it one time, like, look, Russ, you can sanitize this. He said, okay, like all right. Do I need to do that to my? Yeah, I think it's one of those sort of very cool, but a little bit gimmicky. Like, how often are you going to think I must sanitize my phone now that I'm sitting in my car and going wherever? But I guess it's kind of.
Well, I mean, if you are a germaphobe and somebody accidentally touched your phone.
If you are a germaphobe, someone accidentally touched your phone. But I feel like if you have this is a 3-row vehicle, so it's for families. You got to get over your germaphobe if you have kids, because kids are just walking piles of germs. So I don't know. I feel like I'd be. Of all the times you're like, when you worry about germs, like you've got kids, there's germs everywhere. Just get used to it. So that, and I had the calligraphy, which is the top, fanciest, snazziest version of this vehicle. The price before destination was $48,300. It was an extra $470 for paint. White paint, and it was an extra $210 for floor mats. Guesses on destination.
Hyundai, $11.95.
Sam,
$12.95.
Sam wins. It's $13.95.
Gosh, everybody.
Ouch.
47,000 for a Santa Fe. That's
48,300.
48,000.
48,300. Wow. I mean, it does get. It is really nice. I mean, this is like, when you see it, I'm curious what you're going to think, Sam, but it does have more of an upscale vibe to it. It feels fancy. I don't know if I'd spend.
Yeah, I did drive the Santa Fe briefly during the Mama Spring Rally back in May. So I drove it for about 15 minutes around the drive loop, and it is really nice. And the one that I had was in this like bronze color.
Which is really cool. Yeah, it's a cool color. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, and then inside, this one. So I'm just looking at what's the luxury in here, right? There's Napa leather seats. They have like a suede headliner, which always makes something feel a little bit fancier. There's heated front and second row seats, ventilated front seats. You have power folding captain's chairs in the second row. You have a heated steering wheel, and they have this thing, a reclining, what do they actually call it? It's a driver seat. Oh, driver relaxation seat. I was trying to get the phrase. So the driver.
Is that the one with the ottoman that comes up from underneath your seat?
Ottoman that comes up under your feet. It like lets you recline back. So whether you're like just taking a break if you're on a road trip, or the endless number of times as a parent that you're sitting waiting for your kid to come out of school, soccer, football, music, they got detention, whatever, when you're waiting for your kids to come out, you can just relax. You can like go to sleep. So there's a lot when you think about all the stuff. 48,300 isn't quite so painful. It's still not a cheap vehicle, but I do like it. I would definitely consider it if I was looking for a 3-row.
Yeah, it just, it seems like we were talking about that same kind of price point for the Palisade not so long ago. Mm-hmm. Even for the calligraphy version of the Palisade. Yeah. So I don't know, but yeah, I just checked in the drive shop thing, and the one that I'm getting it's the same. I think it's the same one that they had in Wisconsin. So it's the earthy brass matte is the color.
Earthy brass matte. Oh, I like that.
Earthy brass matte.
Earthy brass. No, it is kind of brass. Okay, and it is like a matte.
It is a matte finish. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty cool looking, and I like the shape.
Did that color cost more? Like what did I have? The white, whatever they called it, Serenity White Pearl.
Let me see what the Monroney says. Flip it around here. It looks like there is no additional charge for that. Oh no, sorry, it's an extra $1,000.
It's $1,000 for that. I mean, that is snazzier than the white
Yeah.
paint, but holy cow, $1,000 for paint.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're gonna pay extra for paint, you might as well at least get an interesting color, not just a boring white.
Yeah.
It's not just boring white. It's Serenity White Pearl. I mean,
That sounds, Serenity seems pretty boring. He's like, I'm sleeping. Serenity's sleeping.
Well, I mean, you do have that ottoman.
Yeah,
you get the built-in ottoman
with the driver relaxation seat, the Serenity White Pearl paint, the fancy ambient lighting, and your disinfected phone. You're good to go.
Yeah, just true. Set the alarm on your phone for 20 minutes. Stick it in the disinfecting chamber. Put out the ottoman. Relax. Be serene.
Have a nice
20
time.
minutes.
Yep. So you can just nap.
Take a nap.
Road rage will be gone. It'll be perfect.
Yeah, I mean, seriously though, I mean, a 20-minute nap on a long road trip does wonders.
Well, that's
there are so many times
when you really think about it. If you could just take a nap, because you're just like, I don't want to sleep. I just need to nap for a few minutes because you have that tired highway hypnosis thing, and you just need a break. 20 minutes on that relaxy chair, but you're never going to get it because you have a family full of kids. So it's going to be hard to get that. It's going to work best when you're waiting for them outside of school. I'm telling you, that's when all the parents are just going to lounge in the parking lot. Someone's going to have to tap in their window. Hey, your kid's here.
What you do is you stop at a rest area, and you kick all the kids out of the car, lock the doors, and then you take your nap and say, "Here, go use the restroom. Go play in the forest. I'll see you in 20 minutes.
Go get yourselves a drink from the soda machine and some chips.
Yeah, go get a bag of Doritos.
It's the Doritos. Sit on that bench.
Eat them before you get back in the car, so we don't get the Dorito dust everywhere
on the fancy Napa leather seats."
Yeah. There's our road food segment for this week.
There we go. Yeah, we got it covered.
Parent takes a nap, takes a 20-minute cat nap, and
get Doritos and Diet Coke. Yeah, we're good.
in the Santa Fe, and while the kids eat some Doritos and Snickers bars, and play in the forest, and hopefully don't get lost, and then you're good.
And thankfully, my children are grown, so they can't take them away now, so we're good.
All right. Anything else on the Santa Fe?
Nope. I feel like that just about does it on the oldie Santa Fe.
Did you know you can support Wheel Bearings directly? Head to patreon.com/wheelbearingsmedia and you can become a patron today. Your contributions will help fund the platforms and tools we use to bring the podcast to you. And exclusives and improvements are already on the way thanks to your generosity. So if you want to be part of an automotive podcast like no other, head to patreon.com/wheelbearingsmedia. All right, Robbie.
The oldie Santa Fe. I went to Germany last week, as you do, for work. And I drove the Porsche Taycan Turbo S Cross Turismo, the brand new one, around Germany on the Autobahn and whatnot. Ooh. And I love the Taycan Cross Turismo. And I think I've said this. I said this on somewhere on the internet. It's my favorite modern car. Just hands down. This is my favorite car.
Of all of them?
Someone said, money of all the modern cars, if someone said, here's a bunch of money, you can buy whatever you want, I would buy this. Because the engineering is top notch. It's comfortable when it needs, when you're just cruising. It's fast when you want to go fast. It corners well. And the everything about it engineering wise is fantastic. Turns out those engineers at Porsche, they know what they're doing.
So you would take a Taycan Cross Turismo over a 911?
Yes.
Okay.
You know why? I could put my dogs in the Cross Turismo.
That's a very good point.
Huh?
The dogs would not. The dogs, unless you had I was walking Morty the other day, and I saw somebody with a tiny little dog that probably didn't weigh more than about 2 pounds on these spindly little legs, and that's about the only dog that would fit comfortably in the backseat of a 911.
Yeah, like a teeny tiny, and I have a German Shepherd and then a smaller German Shepherd. Yeah. So yeah, no, I've driven the 911, love the 911. 911 is a fantastic car. McLaren 750S, driven that, fantastic car. I would still rather have the Taycan Turbo S. Because you could drive. This is like the awesome daily driver that you have. You can do all the things and still have all the power and all the speed and all the handling. But then sometimes I got to go to Home Depot and get some mulch. And I can do it. It's a wagon.
Throw a few bags of mulch in the back of the Cross Turismo. You're good to go.
Yeah. Best car. They gave me the purple one. It's called Province.
The color is called Province.
The color is called Province.
Sure, it's not Provence.
Maybe
like the region of France.
It might be Provence. Wait, why is it
like Province?
Like Province.
Province.
ENCE.
Provence.
Oh, ENCE.
Province.
Okay, so it is Provence. It's not Provence. Province is INCE.
Well, I guess that's true. Who knows? I don't know Germans. Oh darn it! I built the wrong car in the configurator. Anyway.
Oh, I think the reason why they call it Provence is that they grow a lot of lavender there.
I was just going to say the Provence.
It does look like lavender.
Yep, that's what it is. Aren't they clever?
Yeah.
Or confusing?
So clever. So 2025 model. This is the latest update with some, the exterior's got some changes, the headlamp and the fascia, and the instruments have been adjusted. And so while I love this car, there is one thing that I found while I was in Germany that I do not like.
Just one thing?
And guess what it is?
The price?
Well, not the price. I mean, the price, the idea is like no money, if money was no object. The climate control, the vents.
No.
Are in the dash. Yes.
No.
Oh no, Porsche! Yes. What are you thinking?
It's now. So now instead of being 100% rad, it's like 97% rad.
I don't know. That seems like a showstopper to me.
That one thing that makes you like, oh, darn it, Porsche. Because I was like trying to move the thing, and I was like, I'm like, what's going on? And I'm like, oh no, oh no. And I'm like, I found it. So there. So now that I've told you the bad news, here's all the good news. The new one has 764 horsepower, just regular, but you can get the launch control mode with 938 horsepower, which is bonkers.
It's adequate.
That'll do. It's quick. It is smooth. It's nice to drive. I had it on the Autobahn doing. Let's see, 200. Hold on, I gotta do the math.
Oh my goodness.
203.
Just multiply by 0.62.
Equal. No, don't make me do it. Equal miles per hour. Whoops. Hold on. Boop, boop.
The keys.
And magic number is 126 miles an hour on the freeway. Or on the Autobahn, which you're allowed to do that. And it's not easy. It's actually not easy to get up to that speed because it's still a road with other people, and you have to find like a nice spot where, fortunately I found a portion of the Autobahn that's actually pretty long. When you drive on the Autobahn, it's not like just full Autobahn. It's not like full, no speed limit all the time. There's a lot, like if you come to a major interchange, usually they slow you down to like 120 kilometers. Then you pass the interchange, then you can go as fast as you want. And then you suddenly, and because you're going so fast, what happens is you're hitting this other. So I found one in the outside of Stuttgart that had actually a pretty good, area where you could actually go pretty fast for a long stretch of time. Plus, you got to realize other people are going to come in the lane. But because 99% of everyone in Germany knows how to drive on the Autobahn, and left lane is for passing only, it's not that bad. It actually works out pretty well. No way I could, if we had like an odd, like no speed limits in the United States, there's still no way you could ever get that fast and be safe. Because no one knows how to drive in this country.
No, we don't.
We're just hanging out in the left lane like a bunch of weirdos. So all that power, you could do some really nice things. What's great is that it also charges quicker.
Quicker than before?
Quicker than before.
Okay.
320 kilowatts.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Now you just have to find a working Electrify America charger that will
or EA or not or EVgo or ChargePoint. ChargePoint has 400 kilowatt chargers. I was doing a video in front of one of the 400 kilowatt chargers and was talking about 350 kilowatt chargers, and I had to change my whole script.
Jeez.
So yeah, it has according to Porsche, it has 35% more range. So they did put a larger battery into the vehicle. I think it's now 105. I'm looking at my giant fold out thingy that they gave me while I was in Germany, where everything's in Newton meters and in kilowatts versus American horsepower and whatnot. Yeah, I was like, okay, so if you carry the one. So it used to be 93 kilowatt hours. Now it's 105. They've updated the motor. They made it a little bit lighter. They made it a little bit quicker. Still 800 volt system. So, they have that efficiency from that as well. I'm going to, I love this vehicle a lot. I had a hoot for the 24 hours that I had it. Because I would have had it for 48 hours, but my flight was delayed on the way to Germany. Thanks, software. Yeah. But yeah, I was hauling around my bag and my backpack and, all my camera gear because I had to go shoot video while I was there. And it was great. And I like the fact that you have an AC DC charger on one side and an AC charger on the other of the vehicle. So you could have like two AC chargers if you're really crazy. But what was nice is I was doing one of the video shoots I did was about curbside charging. And if I were in the UK or if I were in Germany or wherever, if you're just pulling up to an AC charger, which is usually curbside charging, doesn't matter.
Just plug your cable in that you carry in the trunk and. Yep. Nice.
Yeah. No. So that was fun. It still handles really well. They have a new push to pass function. You have a little button, you push it, you go faster. I didn't really get a chance. I mean, I tried it on the freeway, whoop-de-doo, or on the Autobahn. I didn't get to actually pass anyone because the roads in Germany, on some of the roads I was driving, there's barely enough room for one car. Yes. So some of the areas is either really wide, you're either going through a tiny little village that looks like super German, or you're on the little road between where all the farmland is, and there's just enough room for two cars, and there's like about 3 inches of shoulder on each side, and it drops off. And that's just how we drive. So everyone knows the exact size of their car, which is fun, which is great because, I'm driving. I'm like, oh, I'm driving this car. So I don't know the exact size because it's not my car, but we drive a lot of cars. So we kind of figure that out pretty quickly. But I cannot see that working out really well here. It had a screen, had a passenger screen, didn't turn it on. Don't care. Don't care. Really don't care. Apparently, it has the CarPlay Plus support. It's like you get a bunch of more CarPlay stuff. I didn't turn it on. I didn't even think about it the entire time, to be honest. I had CarPlay on so I could listen to my music and to use the Google Maps, which is, by the way, just bonkers bad in Germany, because when you're driving around Germany, there's like little trails next to the roads, and those are all bicycle walking trails. So between villages, like you can ride your bike between a village or from like in the town or whatever. And so there's all these little trails that sort of go off into everywhere. The Google Maps just kept wanting me to drive on those trails.
Oh, jeez.
Like, just drive on the trail. Just drive on the trail.
No, I'm not doing that, Google.
At one point, it wanted me to drive through a cornfield.
Oh, that would have been fun. An interesting adventure at the very least.
Yeah. Apparently, there's a lot of cornfields around Stuttgart. But yeah, no, their new 0 to 60 time is fast. I'm just gonna say fast. I think it's like standstill in just the Taycan Turbo S, which I was driving, 2.4 seconds.
That'll fast.
That'll do. Why do you need to go that fast? I don't know.
Okay. Nobody does.
But
nobody needs
to, I guess. But to be honest, because it's a Porsche and because it's low to the ground, I'm not angry about it like I am when you see a truck that can do that or an SUV, because those are not built to do that. And physics and gravity and body roll, that makes those things incredibly dangerous. And those people who drive those vehicles, typically that's the kind of vehicle they've driven, so they don't have the experience of, say, a supercar the size of an F-150. So yeah, I'm still on that sort of thing. The wireless charging, and you open up the center and they have like a little slot with like a little bit that holds your phone in, so you just slide it in.
Sort of a clip type of thing?
Yeah, it's got like a little clip and you slide it in. So you can't see your phone. You can't get to it like easily, which is great, to be honest, because you have a CarPlay or Android Auto or whatever.
If you're driving 200 kilometers an hour, you shouldn't be looking at
you should definitely not be looking at your phone. And it charges your phone and it doesn't go flying everywhere. I've been in, like Nicole said, you get in a vehicle and you go around a corner and it's like, out the wireless charger over on the side. And you're just like, oh no. They're like, well, I guess I have to wait until I come to a stoplight and hope it lasts long enough. And you're just trying to reach and scramble. And then you just give up and you're just like, well, I guess that's where it lives now. So every time you go around a corner, you can hear your phone slapping up against the side of the car. Doesn't have that. That doesn't happen in the Taycan Cross Turismo. Again, it's a wagon, so that makes it 1,000 times better than most other vehicles.
Absolutely.
And it's an EV. It charges fast. It goes fast. What is the EPA range? Sorry, I have all these things for
222 miles an hour.
222 miles.
222 miles, not miles.
Range.
222 miles.
Okay, which in Porsche numbers means about 240.
Yeah,
because they always use the lower number. I remember when the first Taycan came out, we had done the drive program, and then they did the EPA, and I'm like, well, that doesn't sound right at all, because we had done so much better. On Andrews Crest Highway, my range was way better than the EPA, and it's just Porsche being extra German, I guess, and being extra cautious about those numbers. And I think they're part of the VW group, and I think the VW group as a whole, I know Audi does this as well. They sort of underreport. They choose the lower number, and sort of under promise and over deliver. That one of those things. So, but yeah.
I'm curious. Did you happen to look at what the energy consumption was when you were driving at 200 kilometers per hour?
I couldn't find a miles per kilowatt hour in there because it was in kilometers, and then I was just. Yeah, and one of the weird things when we travel is that you have one day to like sort of you get there, and you're there just your brain's sort of mush, and the next day you drive a car and you're like 85% there. So what happens is you always forget something. So that's the thing I forgot. Because you're rushing around, you only have so much time with the vehicle. I had a video shoot in the morning. And so I missed that. I'm sure it's probably pretty efficient for what if we're talking if it's 220 miles, 95 kilowatts. You're talking about 2.25, 2.3 miles.
Yeah, I'm wondering what it was at 126 miles an hour.
Oh no, you don't look down when you're doing 120. That's a thing. Like I've done. I think I did 180 once on the Autobahn. It was like a string of cars all doing this speed, and
right along.
You don't look down. You don't know what speed. Like the person sitting next to me.
Things happen really fast when you're going.
Yeah,
you can't look.
You're looking like a half mile down the road for things to happen. And so you become like it's just you in the car and nothing else matters, and you're just watching everything like with intensity that is. So yeah, when you're doing 120 and you're by yourself, it's the same thing. I'm not gonna. I like happen to look down. I'm like, 206. That's what I'm doing. 206 kilometers, or 203. Oh wait, I guess I got it right. It was 206, but I wrote 203. So I guess I was going a little bit quicker. Either way, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. So let's talk about
dollars.
Let's talk about like how much of your 401k or like what C-suite level manager you're gonna want to be. Again, you don't need the Turbo S. I don't need the Turbo S. It's great because it's the Turbo S. I'd be fine with the regular Taycan Cross Turismo. But the Turbo S starts at $209,000.
That's a lot of dollars. I mean, it's very cool, but it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So just the regular 4 starts at $113,000. So you can save like about $100,000. Oh. If you don't need to go 0 to 60 in like 2.3, 2.4 seconds. So I wouldn't be too concerned. It's hard to do the configurator with this because I had a German spec because I was in Germany and I kind of did it. And with the delivery and everything, it came out to $224,345. I might have missed things like the wheels I had like aren't available on here. And so I'm sure there's like a bunch of other things that are probably different from what from the spec I had. Again, German spec vehicle. So, whatever works well in the German market as a trim level or as a package or whatever, that's what we're going to sell there. So $224,000, which is like a house in the 90s. Or like it now if you don't live in the Bay Area.
Or, I mean, my house 7 years ago.
Yeah. A house 7 years ago. What do you guys want to make a fun guess on the delivery, processing, and handling fee?
I wanted to be expensive. The car is expensive. $1,595.
I'm going to say $995 because I think Porsche, they don't try to hide the price in the delivery fee. They just roll it right into the sticker price.
$19.95.
Oh,
well, so much for that theory.
Yay!
Yeah. I wonder if it's because I don't know. $19.95. Yeah. I was a little, when you're already paying $220, I guess they just like, yeah.
What's another $2,000?
That's another $2,000.
It's only another 1%.
Yeah,
less than 1%.
And when you're a billionaire who can go out and buy sells a Porsche Taycan Cross Turismo, you can do that. So yeah, $113 for the 4. I believe is the spec. Yeah, this Cross Turismo. Yeah, the 4, because there's the 4, the 4S, the Turbo S, and now there's the new like GTS line, which so the 4 is $113. The 4S is like $129, $128. So unless you're super, you have to have the Turbo S. You have to have that speed for reasons that escape me, really, to be honest. Because you can't do anything with it in the United States. At least in Germany, I can drive real fast.
Unless you live in Montana.
Yeah, you could live if you live out in the middle of literally nowhere.
Then there's no chargers out there. So, if you're going to drive that fast, you're not going to go very far before you drain the battery. So you got to have some DC fast chargers. And if you're out there in the middle of nowhere, there's no chargers. So it's kind of pointless.
Yeah. It's fun because when I was driving through Germany, I was like, oh, I want to get some currywurst because I love currywurst. And when we go with the automakers, like they take us to like nice restaurants, and just like, all right, fine, whatever. And so I was looking for currywurst, and one of them was the one I put in at the airport. No, I don't know what the hell Google Maps was thinking. So then I found another one. I'm like, oh, I'll go here. And there was no parking. So I was driving around, and it's a shed. It's literally a shed. I found a shed next to like some auto body. It's
kind of like those roadside barbecue joints in Texas or Tennessee.
Yeah. It's just a shed with a guy.
Did you go in and did you get currywurst?
I did. And so I was like, oh, well, I couldn't find any parking. I'm like, all right, well, let me get something to drink from the gas station that's up the street. And the gas station, a lot of gas stations in Germany have charging. And I just didn't. I'm like, oh. So I went and I plugged the car in. I charged. I went and got my currywurst. I come back, and one of the Volvo giant electric semis was like pulled in and blocking me in so we could charge on the DC fast charger. So that was a fun experience. I'll send you a picture if you want to put that in show notes or whatever. And the guy was really nice. Didn't speak any English. Neither did the man in the shed. It's just like, I'm like, I want this. And it was cash only. So I'm like taking all these coins out. I don't know what number he's using. He doesn't even have a cash register. He just says words at me. So I'm looking at the pricing. I'm trying to
handing him coins until he says, okay.
So I handed him a coin. And he looked at my hand and he took another like €1 out and then gave me a 50 back. And I'm like, oh, okay. He's like, you're almost there, buddy. So no, it was a fun German experience. But the gentleman driving the big rig, he stopped his charge, backed up, let me out, and then pulled back in and charged his vehicle. So yeah, no, that was something you don't see in the United States. So overall, I had a lot of fun driving the Porsche Taycan. If I were driving it to like Bakersfield, I would have had fun. To be honest, it doesn't matter where you
were.
Yeah, if I were in New York and stuck in traffic, you're like, well, it's a comfortable car, and that's one of the great things about this is that yes, it's fast, yes, it's performance, but it's also actually really comfy to just kind of cruise around in, and that's kind of the selling point for me. Where I love a fast, I have a car it's not fast, but it's performancey, but it's not it's not a road tripping car. No one wants a road trip in a BRZ if they can help it. I mean, I would, but regular people don't want to do that. Whereas the Taycan, you could do the Cross Turismo, you could do that. So anyway, yeah, I'll stop saying nice things about it. You got any questions?
I've got the configurator open, and I went to the paint to sample section where you can like you can bring a paint sample and they will paint your car to match. Bring them a sample of anything, and they'll paint your car to match if you want.
How much does that cost?
A lot. And of the colors, the samples they've got in here, they've got a whole range of stuff. I'm debating between the Nogaro blue metallic and the signal yellow. I think the signal yellow would be cool.
I think yellow. I'm going with yellow for a Taycan. I would do yellow when you buy this car.
Yeah, the signal yellow. It's a very bright yellow. It's kind of like a school bus.
Because they have the paint to sample, and that's $13,000. And then they have paint to sample plus, which is $30,000.
Oh, that's the one. That's the one where you can bring them anything, an example of anything, and they will do a color match and paint it for you.
So any random thing that you bring in, they're going to match it perfectly.
Yep.
So your grandmother's Hummel figurine, I want this shade of blue there. And they will paint it for you that color.
What would you, if you could pick anything, any color of anything, what would you do? Like, you're going to spend $30,000 on paint because you want your car to look exactly.
Oh my gosh!
What?
I want the Mariner blue that they had on the first year Mazda Miata.
Oh, a very specific request. Oh. Okay.
Yes.
Ooh, Mariner blue.
He knows what he wants.
There's nothing.
Ooh, I like
quite that shade of blue here. The Riviera blue is not bad.
Beautiful.
It's a little too green though. Yeah, it's too green. Maybe the Maritime blue. The Maritime blue is pretty cool. Pretty close.
This is a beautiful car. According to my random Google, it says they only made about 13,000 of those in that blue.
Of the Mariner blue Miatas?
Yes. This one says 13,351 from this completely not verified source that I'm looking at.
Well, if it's on the internet, it must be true.
Right. Exactly.
That's true.
You're not allowed to post lies on the internet.
Never. Absolutely not.
No one would take the time out of their day to do that. I mean, come on.
Nobody would mess.
We all have busy lives. Come on.
All right. Okay. Well, I also had a crossover from the Volkswagen Group that is electric, and so it's basically the same thing as a Taycan, right? Yeah.
Totally.
I had the VW. The 2024 VW ID4 Pro S all-wheel drive. So this is the refreshed ID4 that they launched last year. These are built in Chattanooga, Tennessee now, with batteries from an SK On plant in Georgia. So it is eligible for tax credits, for IRA tax credits, for as long as those still exist. I drove the ID4 couple, 2-3 years ago when it first launched, and drove the rear wheel drive, the original rear wheel drive version, and it was fine. I liked it. I mostly liked it. There were a couple of real annoyances at the time. The infotainment system in its original form was not great. It was laggy.
Challenging is a great word for it.
The interface was fine, but the software performance was bad. But it has since gotten much, much better. I had no issues with the infotainment system on this one. So this is the Pro S, so it's got, they have one with a smaller battery. It's like a 62 or 64 kilowatt hour battery, that has less range. This one, has an 82 kilowatt hour battery. It's officially rated by the EPA at 263 miles of range. But I think, as with the Taycan, I think that's relatively conservative, because, I was getting 3.5 miles per kilowatt hour, which works out to, let's see, what is 3.5 times 82? That is 287 miles. And that was with a lot of highway driving and the air conditioning on most of the time. So, at other times of the year when you can run without the AC, you could probably, if you're doing mostly city driving, you could probably hit 300 without too much difficulty at this thing. And this is the all-wheel drive version. The rear-wheel drive version, the single motor rear drive, is officially rated at 291 miles. So that's an easy 300 there. This one had more than adequate performance. I was more than content with the performance of this thing. It's roomy. It's got lots of cargo space. There's no frunk on any of these VWs. There's no storage space in the front, because when you look at it in profile, you can see that they've kind of squashed the front end space, to maximize the passenger volume. And they've got all the electronics packed in the front. So there's no room for a frunk in the front. But that's fine, because you got lots of room in the back, for that. Handling is fine. It drives like a VW. It's not, doesn't quite drive like a Taycan. But it's adequate. There's no, there's not much body roll because of the battery down low. It's very pleasant to drive. And then the infotainment system, when they did the mid-cycle update last year, they gave it a larger screen. It's 12.9 inch display now. The software performance, like I said, is a lot better. And one of the complaints on the original version was that there was like a little shelf at the bottom of the infotainment screen that had touch sliders on there to adjust the temperature and the audio volume. And they were not backlit on the original one. They are now backlit, so you can see them in the dark.
I remember that being. Now
they were I pulled. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just drive like the music's getting louder. How come I'm not getting?
So they're backlit now. Those sliders, those touch sliders, are backlit. But the problem is they're still touch sliders, and they kind of suck because a lot of times, I don't know about you guys, but when I'm using a touch screen, if I'm reaching out to tap something, a lot of times I will use my index finger and use my middle or other fingers to brace my hand, so the end of my arm is not bouncing around as I'm going down the road, so I can actually hit touch targets. And when you do that in the ID4 or the ID3, if you're in Europe, you'll end up hitting those sliders and adjusting the temperature or the volume inadvertently, and that kind of sucks. So I'd rather just have a nice simple knob. Because you know what, knobs work. They work every time.
Yeah, work fine.
Yeah,
it'd be nice if we used them more, but
no one's angry about a volume knob. No one's like, oh.
No one's ever like, oh, dang it, this is stupid. No one ever says no. Mm-mm.
On the other hand, I can adjust the vents by just reaching out and grabbing them. Yeah, that's always a good thing.
That's a plus.
Yes, absolutely a plus. There's now wireless CarPlay and Android Auto support. There's a wireless charger in the console. It's all pretty good. Aside from the sliders at the bottom of the screen, can't say I really had any complaints about the ID4 this time. It was quite pleasant.
It still has that button though, right? For the rear windows, you got to push a button.
Yes, I forgot about that. Yes, the window controls. This is a stupid thing that automakers must stop doing.
This is a stupid thing.
How much? If you're going to charge $55,000 for a car, or in some cases, let's say $90,000 for a car, and we'll talk about that maybe next week. If you're going to charge that much money for a car, stop. I mean, how much can you possibly be saving by only having two window switches and then another, switch to select between front and rear windows? Come on.
You're only saving one switch.
I know. It's just dumb.
You still have to have the wiring harness that goes there. So it's like you're saving one switch and maybe two wires, I guess.
Yeah. It's dumb.
Decision.
It's really, really, really dumb. Fortunately, when Audi did their version of this car, which is the Q4 e-tron, they have 4 discrete window switches. Mm-hmm. So, unfortunately, VW, when they did their refresh, did not change that. It still has 2 window switches and then a front rear selector, which is dumb. And there's now that dumb thing is being copied by other companies too. So We'll get to that.
Someone else just did that.
Yeah. So please, if you're a designer or engineer at an automaker, don't do that. Manual vents, 4 window switches, or a window switch for each window. Let's put it that way. However many windows you have, give each one its own window switch on the driver's door.
Yeah,
it's not that hard. But yeah, other than that, I was good with it. The Pro S all-wheel drive, not inexpensive. Altogether, this one came to $55,695 with the options that were on it, which actually it looks like it's the only option was the Aurora Red metallic paint, which was $395.
Yep.
Everything else was standard on the Pro S. So you can certainly opt for one of the other trim levels and get a price point that is down, much more reasonable into the mid 40s, for a reasonably equipped example. Any guesses on the destination charge?
You go first, Robbie.
Robbie? I think he's frozen.
Oh, did he freeze? Oh, I missed that he froze. Oh,
there he is. He's back.
I thought he was okay.
You froze on us for a minute there.
I know. I don't know what's going on. Whenever I podcast, my speeds go, like earlier I tested my speeds and it was like 300 and now it's like 36.
Okay, so now you have to take a guess at destination now that you're back in the land of the living.
Volkswagen destination, $1,395.
You gotta go $1,495.
Robbie got it. It was $1,425.
Oh,
ooh, that is weird.
Oh, okay, $14.
That is an unusual number for a destination charge.
They charge you $70 less because they don't put that extra button in for the window.
Oh, because they reduce the weight slightly.
That's it.
Yeah.
So it cuts the delivery charge, freight charge.
I'd rather just pay them the $70 and not be irritated for the life of the vehicle. But that's just me.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Let's move on to other stuff. Let's stay with VW EVs. So Robbie, they announced pricing finally for the U.S. market ID Buzz.
Oh my gosh. I drove this car almost 2 years ago in Sweden and Norway. 2 years ago. 2 years ago. Over a year ago.
2016 or 17 when they showed the concept.
This is the longest lead time for any vehicle on the planet to come to the United States.
Nothing has taken this long ever.
Nothing. There have been so many things that have been announced and are on the road before this vehicle. And so when they showed us the last year at Huntington Beach, they're like, okay, they sort of did the unveiling because we're getting the long wheelbase. We don't get the short wheelbase, which I drove in Europe,
right.
Which I would prefer a short wheelbase. I don't have that many friends, so I don't need all that extra room.
But your dogs would appreciate the extra,
right?
Yeah, that'll be fine. So we get the long wheelbase, and they're like, oh yeah, the entry level version has. They just started naming off all the options. I'm like, oh my god, this thing's going to be like $60,000. And it's going to sell it the first year, and then after that, they're going to have some difficulty selling it. And this week, guess what? The starting price for the Pro S.
You were a little wrong, though, Robbie. It was $59,995. So don't exaggerate.
$59,995. So again, this is going to for the enthusiasts. It's going to sell out first year. If just give up.
It'll be like the new Beetle when they launch the new Beetle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it'll sell out the first year. After that, I think they're going to have some difficulty selling it. I think it's because you're kind of, and it's not just the price, it's the range.
The range is not estimated range is 234 miles for rear wheel drive and 231 for all wheel drive. That's not great.
No.
Yeah, and it is the Volkswagen Group, so maybe 240. Maybe we can get 250.
Put a couple of miles on there, but that's
throw a few miles. But when you look at it as a person who's looking at this car, who's been waiting, and the hype cycle has just fallen off.
Yeah,
no one cares.
Everyone was so excited about it, and then it became like one of those things that started to feel like, well, I don't know when it's or ever if it's coming to the United States. People sort of let go of it in their hearts.
Yeah. And so I think they waited entirely too long to bring this here. It could have been here 2 years ago, to be honest, if they, because they had it in Europe like 2.5 years ago. Because I drove one around Europe.
Weird.
And so, yeah, because of that, I don't, it's a hard sell at that price and for that range for me. And I was really excited about like this was the next car. This is the car we were going to get after the Ioniq 5. And now I'm like, maybe the Kia Carnival, they'll make that into an EV. Maybe that's
what you need to go with.
Because it's a little bit.
Maybe get a used one in a few years.
Yeah, maybe in a few years get a used one, but at the it's because it's the van, so people want to take it on trips. If you're just cruising around town, totally fine. You're never going to hit over 200 something miles anyway in your regular life. But when we were thinking about this, oh, this is the car we take on trips. This is the car we take to go places and do things with the dogs. Well, it's 400 volt, so it's not going to charge as quickly as
it's probably going to be the same 150 kilowatts as ID4.
Yeah, so it's 400 volts, so it's not going to charge very fast, as fast as say an EV9, which starts at a little bit under the price with about the same round of range. And then if you hit you get 300 miles if you hit 60,000 on EV9, and that's an 800 volt vehicle, so it's going to charge a lot quicker. So I really, and I knew it was going to be 400 volt, and I was like, okay, well, maybe, we can get, if they get the larger battery pack, maybe they can get like 3 miles per kilowatt hour out of it, because essentially it's a pill, it's a Tylenol capsule with wheels, and no, it's I don't know. I think a lot of people are disappointed. I think again the hype. If they had come out with these specs maybe a couple of years ago, it would have been fine. But now, in a world with, dominated by the Hyundai Motor Group and their 800 volt architecture, you're essentially just buying it because it looks cool.
It's too little, too late.
That's the only reason you're buying it, because there's no practical reason to buy this at this point. It just doesn't.
It doesn't. If you need a family hauler, you're probably going to end up with the EV9 instead. Yep. If you're looking at it practically as a buyer, if you're an enthusiast, you're going to get this. And for the enthusiast, they're going to buy it. They would have bought it no matter what. It's the next 2 or 3 years after the first year where you really figure out, okay, they sold 30,000 units the first year. Are they going to sell 5,000 the next year? Are they going to bring the price down? Are they going to make adjustments to the battery and to get it up to like 260? Like you kind of like fingers crossed, like, okay, year 2, year 3, maybe a refresh. We're going to get the vehicle that people kind of want for this, because they want to go camping in this. They want to go on adventures. They want an adventure van. And that like everyone in the neighborhood is jealous of. And yes, everyone will be jealous when they look at it. But then when you tell them, what you paid for and the range in a world again with the EV9s and the Lyrics and, the GMs and what everyone else has out there, it becomes a Rivian. It becomes a little bit tougher.
But, you can't get an EV9 in Cabana Blue, Energetic Orange, Mahi Green, or Pomelo Yellow.
There you go.
With the white top.
If they made a Carnival that was the Kia Carnival that was an EV and it had 2-tone paint jobs, that would just be cruel, because Volkswagen spent so much time getting this vehicle onto the market, and then Kia's like, oh, hey, by the way, we made this. You're like, oh, come on. I don't know. I'm still, I'm just like, okay, I wouldn't buy this right now. Me personally, I wouldn't buy it. I know enthusiasts are going to buy it. I really like driving it around. It's not fast. It's not any of the things it doesn't need to be. It's exactly what it needs to be. But it's, we bought this specifically for cruising up and down the state. And you're like, well, I'm paying, this a lot of money for a sort of weekend getaway vehicle. When, we have we have Ioniq 5 that charges quicker, has more range. We can still fit the dogs in it if we just can't take as much junk with us when we go places.
And the launch edition with all-wheel drive is $70,000,
which is, and again, they're going to sell that thing out. It's going to sell out.
But how many?
But how many? Yeah. It's again, first year sales, great. Yeah. After that, then you're kind of hoping that they're like, I'm hoping they kind of look at what they did with the ID4, like let's just make it better on the second, a few years later. And so I don't know. We got 2 years on our Ioniq 5 lease. We'll see what happens in 2 years. I'm fingers are crossed because I really like the ID Buzz. I like driving it around. I like the way it looks. I like the fact I can just shove a bunch of crap at it. It's still a van, which is like better than anything than an SUV. It's just you're like, oh, but we wanted to take it up to Northern California where there's hardly any charging, and we can do that in our 300-mile Ioniq 5. When we do charge, it charges at 230 kilowatts. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is the problem. You go up, whether it's Northern California or Northern Michigan, charging's a pain.
Yeah, it's not easy.
Not a great experience.
Yeah, and also in 2 years we'll probably have more charging infrastructure and blah blah blah. So I feel like the van is either 2 years too late or 2 years too early.
Yeah,
one of those.
Okay, moving on. Did you both see the big Ford announcement from last week?
Yeah,
I did.
They are just giving that 3-row market to Hyundai, huh?
Yeah,
Hyundai Motor Group.
Yep. Yeah, and maybe a few VW ID buzzes as well.
Two.
Maybe a few ID buzzes as well.
Yeah. Yeah. For the ID Buzz, the Rivian, the R1S has the third row. I always forget about the Rivian because I feel like, again, Rivian to me is the Patagonia of EVs. It's like this really nice but very select niche market.
So, for those that don't know what we're talking about, Ford is basically seesawing from one direction to another when it comes to EVs. So we go back to 2018, 2019, Ford said, yep, we're going to put hybrid systems in all of our SUVs and trucks going forward. And then we got an F-150 hybrid and an Escape hybrid, and that was it. Nothing else. Oh, there was briefly an Explorer hybrid, but that's been discontinued now for consumers and didn't sell very well anyway. And then when the Mach-E came out and the Lightning, and they saw the great initial early response, said, oh, we got to build as many of these things as we possibly can. And it cranked up the production capacity. For Mach-E, they went from 50,000 units a year to 200,000 a year. And for the Lightning, they went from 50 to 150,000 units a year capacity. And they haven't sold anywhere near that many of them. Now they're saying, and they were supposed to launch this 3-row SUV, electric SUV. This fall. Actually, it was originally supposed to come out the end of 2023, because the original plan was they were going to build it in Quadelon, where they build the Mach-E. But then when they decided, we need to expand Mach-E production, we're going to shift the 3-row to Oakville, Ontario, and delay it by a year. And that was supposed to be on a new generation EV platform with new electronic architecture and a whole new software platform that was being developed by Doug Field's team in Model E. And I've heard rumblings from various people that they were having a lot of problems with that software. And I think that's actually a much bigger piece of this that Ford is not talking about.
They should have kept that that partnership with Rivian.
Yeah, I mean, in retrospect, they probably should have, because earlier this year they said, okay, we're going to delay the 3-row electric SUVs. These are Explorer Aviator sized SUVs. We're going to delay those to 2027. And then a couple of months ago, they announced we're actually going to use the Oakville plant to build more Super Duties instead. And then last week they said, yep, we're just going to cancel the 3-row electric SUVs entirely. And instead, we're going to build an electric commercial van in Ohio and a mid-sized electric pickup based on whatever it is that they're doing out in California at the Skunk Works facility. So that one should be cheaper. We'll see. I was on the call last week with John Lawler, who's the vice chairman and CFO of Ford. And I asked, so when you say mid-size pickup, do you mean like Ranger size or Maverick size? And he declined to answer the question. He declined to answer most questions, actually. And so because the SUVs were supposed to launch in Q4 of this year, Ford already long ago ordered all the tooling to build it. And now that they're canceling it, they have to scrap all this tooling. And so they're taking a $400 million charge because of scrapping this equipment that they're never going to use to build this SUV they're never going to build. And instead they're going to build another 3-row hybrid SUV. And that's not coming till 2027. And also the Project T3 full-size electric pickup that they're supposed to build in Tennessee, that's also now been pushed back from 2025 to 2027. It's a mess.
It's just, one of the things when I talk to Hyundai about their EV push, about their just going in on EVs and just not stopping and not seesawing like Ford has and GM has, mostly Ford. I think GM just had a lot of issues building their vehicles. But, Ford's been like, we're going to do it, we're not going to do it, we're going to do it, we're going to do it. And this, giving you whiplash trying to keep up with what's going on over there. And I talked to Hyundai and they're like, well, we just said this is what we're going to do. And the whole company is that, like, the culture apparently of the automaker is, okay, that's what we're doing. There is no sort of like, there's
no plan B.
There is no plan B. There is no internal dissent about, what the bosses are saying we're going to do. You just do the thing. And, I think, dissent can be helpful and, at a lot of levels. But when it comes down to sort of losing market share and losing brand value to another automaker, which is what everyone's doing when it comes to when they're competing with Hyundai and with BMW and, and of course all the EV makers, Polestar, Rivian, etc. When you can't figure out what you're going to do, especially when you're Ford and you have a bunch of F-150 money like lying around, it's not like Ford's hurting for cash. It's just it just feels like you're like, well, they're going to lose brand loyalty because when someone who does want an EV, the Mach-E is a great EV. The F-150 Lightning is a great EV. Both of those vehicles are great. They came out with these great things, and they're just like, oh, I don't know. And now, if they're gonna have their lunch eaten by these by again, and this market mostly Hyundai, and for those who are willing to look outside the traditional OEM, Rivian, Tesla, Polestar, etc. And I wish there was just one person who said this is the plan and this is what we're going to do, and it doesn't feel like that's happening at Ford. There's like every time there's a plan, it's like, yeah, this is the plan, I guess.
They're being totally reactive to every little change in the marketplace instead of picking a plan and working to that plan.
Yeah.
It's
just such a waste of it's a huge waste of money because this write down, they're like, oh, that's the money you see. That's not all the work, all the hours people have put into all
the engineering and design resources on those vehicles.
Developers, engineer, all these people are working towards this thing. You're like, okay, the last 2 years, your work doesn't count anymore. So the payroll for those people for 2 years is likely thousands of them. That's also a huge loss. And it's just like, just pick a plan. It's like a restaurant that can't figure out what genre of food they're going to make, and they just keep changing it every 2 weeks. It's like the Seinfeld episode.
Yeah,
we'll just do everything. I don't know. And again, the F-150 Lightning is the best truck for 90% of people who want to buy an F-150. For the 10, well, maybe let's say 80%, because 20% are actually doing like hardcore truck things. Don't get the EV truck. If you're going to be towing, don't do that.
Yeah.
Get the hybrid. But it's a great truck. And today I saw an F-150 Lightning contractor truck. Had the cage on it and everything. I was like, oh, good, because that person, he probably drives like maybe 40 miles a day.
Yeah.
And you can use it to run.
That's what most commercial users are doing. They're doing well under 100 miles a day. And, 250, 300 miles of range is fine for them.
Yeah.
And it saves them so much money. When you're hauling around, a couple 1,000 pounds of equipment and parts and whatever tools in the back of your truck, that your fuel economy when you're running on gas is going to be terrible. I mean, you're getting maybe 10, 12 miles per gallon when you're doing that. But with an EV, you can still easily get all the range you need out of that thing.
Yeah. Plus, you get to charge all your stuff. You don't have to run around with the generator. Yeah. And I know they already have the power thing for the hybrids and whatnot. So that's not really. I guess that's less of an issue. But I don't know. I'm sort of excited about their midsize electric truck, and I say sort of because I should be excited about it, but I'm sort of excited because I don't know.
Yeah, who knows if it's ever going to show up? And it's not coming till 2027 either, or 2026. No, 27, because the van, the commercial van, which also they wouldn't say, okay, is this going to be a transit size van because you already have the e-Transit, or is it going to be something like the Transit Custom that they sell in Europe, or Transit Connect? And there's been some rumors lately that they might do a small electric van. So maybe they'll bring back the Transit Connect as an EV.
Maybe. Who knows? And can you get excited about it? Can you plan anything on that?
Not until they ship it.
No, you can't. If you're, especially for these businesses, they're like, well, if someone else, Hyundai has their weird, like, sort of modular system or Hyundai, their modular vans that are, may or may not show up. But at least I feel more likely. I feel safer if I were a fleet manager, if I had to probably invest in those than in what Ford is saying, because Ford has like been, seesawing and flip flopping on this for years, and you're just like, I don't know if I can trust you as a fleet manager. I mean, it's bad enough the F-150 Lightning prices went like bonkers crazy for the last few years. 1 month it's this much, 1 month it's another, and when you're a fleet manager, you're like, I can't make plans on replacing my gas fleet with this. I'm just going to keep buying gas F-150 because I don't know what you're going to do. I don't know what's going to be the resale value on this, because you can't, if you raise the price $20,000 and drop it $15,000, I bought it at the $20,000 higher price. Now my resale values, so now my inventory that I have is worth, in some cases, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars less than it was a week ago, because you can't figure out what you're doing.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to something that Ford actually is doing, which is the 2025 Bronco Sport. So, Nicole, did you go to Tennessee for this?
I didn't. I was actually at a different program this week. I was checking out the Chevy Equinox when they were doing that.
Okay. And I was in Oklahoma City. So,
Oklahoma.
Well, anyway, the Bronco Sport's getting a mid-cycle update for 23 or for 2025. A lot of the same stuff they did to the the Maverick for its update. So it gets the bigger 13-inch touchscreen with Sync 4 instead of the small 8-inch screen with Sync 3 that it had before. They also added some stuff to make it more like the big Bronco. So there's a Sasquatch package now.
Woohoo!
So it's you can get it on the Badlands or the Outer Banks trim levels. So it gives you some underbody armor, some skid plates all over the place. There's a brush guard that can go on the front bumper, bigger all-terrain tires, and some recovery points that are built in there. And one really cool feature that is part of this, which is the front tie downs. So, on the big Bronco, on the front corners of the hood, they've got those tie down hooks. So if you're carrying a kayak or something or canoe on the roof, you can tie it down to the front corners. Well, they don't have those on the Bronco Sport, but what they have is built into the front fenders. There's a flip out tie down. So on the models that don't have this, there's just like a little fake fender vent. But on the other ones, it's got this little tie down. You pull it out, and it's got a loop on there, and it can hold up to 150 pounds.
That is cool looking. I just found the image of it. That is really cool.
Yeah. That's a neat feature to have on a smaller utility like this.
And a funky way that they've integrated it. That's really different. Yeah.
Pops out.
Yeah. What else? Then they also have the auxiliary switches. So it's pre-wired with 4 auxiliary switches. I think this is on the Sasquatch version. So, if you're putting extra lights or other stuff that needs power on the outside, the big Broncos had this since it launched. And this is new to the Bronco Sport. So this goes in the roof where normally they would have the sunglass holder that flips down.
Oh, where would I put my sunglasses?
Put them on your face.
Oh, all right then.
Wear them.
So you get some auxiliary. You get 4 auxiliary switches, which can be handy if you're putting extra stuff on the outside of your Bronco Sport. And then they also have the what do they call it? The gear bar or something like that. So on the big Bronco, you have a bar that across the top of the dashboard. There's a storage cubby and there's a bar that you can attach things like GoPros and other stuff to it. And they have one of those on here now as well. So it's behind the touchscreen.
Very cool.
And they've got, they've added availability of stuff like adaptive cruise control and evasive steer assist, which was I don't think was previously on the Bronco Sport. They had it on the big Bronco, but not on this one.
So if you get the Sasquatch, what's the price comparison to that, and then just getting a Bronco?
I don't think they have not announced pricing yet.
Yeah, because I'm wondering, you just get the Bronco.
Well, my guess is it's going to be still quite a bit cheaper than the big Bronco, because the big Broncos are pretty expensive.
Yeah, they're
yeah. And you get to drive around. It says Bronco on it, so you can still trick people.
Yeah,
nobody knows. Nobody knows the difference.
That's right. It'll probably be somewhere in the mid 40s, I would guess, for a Bronco Sport with the Sasquatch.
All right.
Yeah.
You get this whole thing. I wonder what happens when it's like 200 pounds. Does it just rip the fender right off? Does you just rip that thing out?
Probably, yeah. Yeah, the whole fender just pops off.
Where they've created a failure point.
Yeah.
You don't have to. Well, we'll just find out and see what happens.
Hook it up with something big and let's see.
Yeah, they also, I think they they have the trail one pedal drive mode on here. They had trail control before, and now it's just the one pedal drive where you can, when you're going downhill on a trail, you can modulate the accelerator and it'll apply the brakes for you automatically. So it's sort of a more advanced version of hill descent control.
Yeah. If you don't know how to left foot brake.
Yeah.
You can learn, but you're always like, everyone learn how to left foot brake. It's gonna be a crappy couple days though.
Yeah.
Exactly, as you're learning.
And you're just like giving yourself whiplash while you're
and just hope you don't cook your brakes in the meantime.
Right.
Oh yeah, there's also that, because you just don't have that.
All right, so that is the 2025 Bronco Sport. And then sticking with compact crossovers or compactish crossovers, GM announced earlier this year that they were going to bring plug-in hybrids back to the U.S. market. They already have some in China, including a plug-in hybrid version of the new Equinox that you just drove, Nicole.
Mm-hmm.
Is the embargo up on the Equinox? Can you talk about that?
I can't talk about it yet. I can talk about it next week. Sorry, secrets.
Okay. All right.
Super secret.
Well, they have the plug-in hybrid version in China that they claim, at least on the Chinese driving cycle, I think it's like 62 miles of range. Is it? Or something like that? Or 90 miles of range.
96 miles of range.
Yeah. But apparently we're not going to get that in the Equinox here.
Wah, wah.
Yeah. So, I mean, on the EPA drive cycle, that would probably be closer to about between 50 and 60 miles of range, which is
pretty
still
good.
Really, yeah, it's still really
nice.
Good. RAV4 Prime will do about 40.
Yeah.
And the Escape plug-in hybrid does about 40. So if you can get upwards of 50, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
But, I know when I went to the backgrounder for the 2025 Terrain a couple of weeks ago, the chief engineer when I asked about, putting a plug-in hybrid in that, she said, well, we're not doing anything new for 2025 or 26 model year. So they're going to do something in 2027, and it'll probably, and she also said that they're not right now. There's no plan for a Terrain EV, but we do have an Equinox EV. So maybe what GM is doing is they're going to put this plug-in hybrid system in the Terrain instead of the Equinox. So you got the Equinox, you got the gas Equinox, the Equinox EV, and then plug-in hybrid version of the Terrain as an alternative.
Okay.
All right. Maybe. Sure. So, why not? I think you got to pay those GMC prices.
Yeah. You got to pay that extra premium.
Get it for the C.
Yeah.
The C stands for cash that you have to pay extra for.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Tesla. Last week, some reports started coming out. A while ago, that Tesla started talking about a hardware version 4 of their Autopilot and FSD hardware. And this hardware 4 version was supposed to have yet another upgraded computer and new camera sensors, more higher resolution camera sensors. And apparently, they've only been shipping small numbers of vehicles with the hardware 4 set up on there. Most of the vehicles that are shipping are apparently still hardware 3. And turns out that the latest version of the FSD software that Tesla's been pushing out to a select few hardcore fans, let's say, apparently it only runs on hardware 4. It will not run on hardware 3.
Okay.
Which has a lot of customers that paid many, many thousands of dollars for FSD.
Oh,
very upset.
It took me a second for me to catch up.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, they're not happy.
Yeah. And a few days ago, one of the more hardcore fans on Twitter goes by the handle Whole Mars Blog.
Oh man, Whole Mars Blog might as well be Twitter PR.
Yeah. Well, he pretty much is. I mean, he's pretty much the Tesla PR department.
Yeah.
Anyway, he was trying to claim that Tesla never promised that all these cars would get true, full autonomy, which is actually not true.
Dun, dun.
And it apparently over the weekend, Tesla purged all of their blog posts pre-2019 from their company blog.
What, did they not understand how the Wayback Machine works?
Apparently not, because it's still there.
Oh, guys.
Yeah. So they purged all blog posts from before 2019, including the master plan part 2. And
oh my gosh, really?
And the October 2016 blog post that declares that they're now, all the cars they're building now will be capable of full autonomy. There was also a recording. I remember I was in California in October 2016 because I was speaking at a couple of conferences in San Francisco. And there was a conference call on October 19th or something of 2016. And I listened into that conference call. It was Elon Musk. He was announcing Autopilot version 2, because if you remember, in May of that year was when they first launched Autopilot in the fall of 2015. May of 2016 is when Joshua Brown crashed and died when his car on Autopilot that he wasn't paying attention to drove itself underneath a semi and turned itself into a convertible while he was in the driver's seat. And when they were using Mobileye hardware at the time, and when Mobileye found out what Tesla was doing with Autopilot, they canceled their supply contract and stopped supplying Tesla with Autopilot hardware, or with their camera and computer for doing the machine vision stuff. Mm-hmm. So Tesla quickly pivoted and built Autopilot 2, which was their own system that initially used NVIDIA chips to drive it, and built their own software. And this is, the system. When they announced this in October 2019, Elon Musk said, and let me just play the recording for you here.
Oh, 2016.
2016.
Yeah.
This is long before the 1 million robotaxis. So just have a listen.
The basic news is that all Tesla vehicles exiting the factory have the hardware necessary for level 5 autonomy. So that's in terms of the cameras and compute power. It's every car we make, so on the order of 2,000 cars a week, are shipping now with level 5.
And it goes on. But that first sentence, every car we build now has the hardware for level 5 autonomy, which was a lie. It was a lie.
And people bought cars based on that lie. Yeah. That's the problem. It's like you're essentially saying, and this is why everyone else couches their language.
Yeah.
About stuff like this. They're like, well, we're trying to figure it out.
Nobody else claims level 5.
Oh yeah, level 5 is ridiculous.
Yeah, that's not happening anytime. Yeah,
because level 5 means that the car is capable of driving itself without human supervision or intervention in all conditions. And level 4 means basically the same thing, except in limited conditions. So that might be limited geographic area or weather, whatever constraints you want to put on it.
Yeah.
That recording, is still up on YouTube right now. There's several copies of it, but it's out there. But I heard it live at the time, and that a couple of days later, I was speaking at a conference, an autonomous vehicles conference in San Francisco, and I explained there why that was a lie, because to be level 5, you have to have systems to keep all the sensors clean, because if the sensors can't see, then the car can't drive itself.
Yeah,
so
you drive into a blizzard, an ice storm, you're dead. Yeah, a tornado, a dust storm. There's like 1,000 things.
Or if a bird poops on your windshield.
Or birds.
Yeah,
always those birds. Ask for that Sully guy. He'll tell you about birds.
Yeah, birds are bad.
Birds are bad. You'll end up in a river or a sound or whatever they landed in. I don't remember.
It was a situation I hear.
Yeah. But because they had no system for cleaning the sensors, cleaning all the cameras and the radar sensor, it could never be level 5. So so they're trying to purge all this stuff, but we won't let them forget it.
It's just you. It's just shooting yourself in the foot. You don't have to, and I understand. Like Tesla is a stock. It's just the stock manipulation company at this point, unfortunately. When you say, well, we're not a car company now. We're an AI company, because AI is big.
AI and robotics.
AI and robotics. They're like, yeah, but all these people bought these cars because they believed what you said. You said these things, and they expected it, and they paid money, and they've been paying like a subscription, or they paid thousands of dollars for this feature that's supposed to come out. It'll be at the end of this year. For the last 5 or 6 years, you've said it's been going to be able. And I think I was listening to, I don't know, probably NPR, because I'm a big nerd who lives in Northern California. But there was a guy who was talking about Tesla, and he's like, there's actually 2 Tesla. There's the people who own Teslas. He's like, and those people are usually pretty nice. It's the TSLA people. The stock people. Those are the ones that like really go after you, because it's a stock, it's you want to keep that stock price up. And if you're talking bad about Tesla, that's bad on their investment. And so those are the sort of like super rabid people who are always going after you whenever you say something critical of Tesla or Elon Musk, because you are saying something critical of something they put a lot of money into. And while the Tesla people are like, I bought a car because Elon said, in a couple of years, like it would drive itself, and I want to drive the future, and I'm a big nerd, and I want to be part of the future. That's why I bought this car. And now you're like, it won't really do that. Sorry about that. Oh, by the way, all that money you paid for us, if you either subscription or the 10,000 or 5,000 or however much it costs now, yes, that's not gonna. You paid us a lot of money for something that's not coming.
Yep.
All right.
It's just heartbreaking for these people, to be, because I know people like to to poop on some of the Tesla folks, because they can be really sort of obnoxious, but I really think there's a lot of really, nice people who work at Tesla and who own Teslas, and they bought into this, and they feels like they're just getting let down again and again and again and again. But you've already invested the money, so you kind of like, well, I can't. What do I do now?
Sunk cost fallacy.
Yeah, you're just like,
All right. Well, enough of that. Just be careful what you pay for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. What you think is going to happen? Because sometimes if it sounds too good to be true,
Probably is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell us about Electrify Expo.
So I went. So a few weeks ago, I talked to BJ Bitwell. Anyways, his name is BJ's first name. He is the founder of Electrify Expo. Every year, Electrify Expo goes to like 4 to 8. I think this year it was 8. Last year was 4. Cities around the nation, and they just have a big like auto show, EV mobility sort of extravaganza. And you show up, and there's OEMs there. Ford, Toyota, Kia, Hyundai, BMW, Lucid, Tesla, all these car companies there. So you can get in the car and sit like you would at an auto show. But in addition to that, you can go and you can talk to some of these smaller companies who are making e-bikes. They're making scooters. They have motorcycles. They have those one-wheel things, those murder things. It's like you're just riding around on one giant wheel. Which I tried once and almost died, so that's why I call them murder things. But they have all the sort of e-mobility stuff, and they also have like a kids zone. Like they had like little carts for the kids, like little kids. And I was watching them, and they were going so slow, but those kids were having the best time of their life. No, so I went to that this weekend. I went last year, and it's bigger this year, and it's just like I know people are like, well, the auto show is dead. And in some aspect it is for like news and stuff, because it doesn't make sense for an automaker to have to do news at an auto show, because now you're competing with every other automaker who's doing news there. But these sort of like traveling, this like Electrify Expo, for those who are interested in EVs, you can test drive most of the EVs were available for test drives. You could sign up. You could drive a Cybertruck if you wanted to wait 2.5 hours.
Is that how long the wait was? Oh my gosh.
Well, they were supposed to have an 11:30 appointment for me, and I got there and they're like, oh, it's going to be another 30 minutes. And it was like sunny, and having dealt with Tesla a lot of times in the past, I know that 30 minutes means an hour.
Yeah.
And I was like, nah, I'm good.
Like, I'm out. Thanks. Bye.
I'm okay. I'll go. I have an interview coming up after this, so yeah, it's kind of like, I think it's for some, it's probably the new like auto show, because you go to auto shows and it's the cars, and if they're EVs, maybe you can do some driving inside, and that's sort of it. This is like, it's more family friendly. They have things for kids. There's a bunch of food trucks there. They had music playing, DJs, and you can find all these custom things for your EV wheels. They had wheel cover things, so you don't get curb rash. Oh. They look ridiculous. They were like little. Like little yellow things. It's like the things on the Chargers that they leave
in front of a Charger or Challenger, and they leave those things on the splitter up there.
Yeah, that for your wheel. You can get that now.
So you can get but you get ugly yellow trim.
Yeah, but like Anchor was there, and so like you can talk to them about all their dozens of battery products, and there's people who are there to sort of help you make your house more efficient, and like Sunrun was there. It's a whole sustainability thing, but it's really but the main thing is sort of e-mobility, and it was actually pretty cool. Everyone, people seem to be having fun. They're all waiting in line to ride scooters or ride bikes or drive cars, and I think they only have like maybe 1 or 2 shows left before.
There's 3 more left this year.
3 more left. There we go. So there's 3 more.
They're coming up September 14th and 15th. They will be in Seattle, Washington. October 12th and 13th in New York City at Citi Field. And then November 9th and 10th in Austin, Texas at Circuit of the Americas.
There you go. So if you're not into EVs and you want to just drive one without the pressure, that's one of the things I liked about auto shows, is that you could go and sit in a car and you don't have a dealer sort of pressuring you or a salesperson pressuring you about this car. Because I don't like people pressuring me about anything, and just like, just leave me alone. I just want to look at this thing at my own pace. And you can sort of do that. You can sort of do that at auto shows where you can do this at this thing. Plus, the kids have something they can do. Plus you get to, if you want, you can drive a car. If you want, you can put your kid on a little scooter or a tiny little cart. And then
you can also try out e-bikes too. So that's fun.
You can do the e-bikes, which are really fun. So no, it's a really smart idea. It's interesting about who's going to it, because there's always going to be the EV people who are there. There's a ton of EVs in the parking lot, but you might bring your friend who doesn't care about EVs, or you might be like EV curious and you just want to go and talk to some people. Mm-hmm. And so no, it's a fun show. I think it's a good idea. You should, if you have a chance, go check it out. If you're a fan of auto shows, it's definitely something you're going to want to do, because you can sit in the cars, open and close the doors, look in the trunk, do the whole shebang with a bunch of different automakers that might not even be at auto shows, because auto shows are actually incredibly expensive for automakers to put cars in, where I feel like this is probably a lot cheaper for them. So the incentive for them is a lot higher because it's less money, so it's less of an impact. And you're typically outside, so you don't have to deal with the whole we got to get building, we got to put carpet down, we got to put the lights up. It's outside. Here's our cars. So yeah, check it out. It's fun.
That sounds kind of cool, actually.
Yeah, I went to the one in Austin a couple years ago. I was speaking on a panel, or I was doing a fireside chat with the head of GM Energy during the industry day, and I stuck around for the public day. Checked it out. It was a cool event. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's really cool. They had some stuff about education, and there's kind of a little bit for everyone. If you EV curious, or even if you hate EVs but you want to maybe you want an e-bike or an e-scooter or something like that. You can just go and play around on those and talk to the people who make them.
Cool.
All right, let's answer a couple of questions and then call it a day. So I think we talked about this one a couple of weeks ago from Dale. He had a question about he was thinking about getting a Nissan Ariya, and he was asking about the NACS to CCS adapters when they would ship. And I talked to Nissan. They're not saying anything, but there was some news that came out, I think today or maybe Friday, that Tesla is finally starting to ramp up production of its adapters. So Tesla has been supplying the adapters used by Ford and Rivian. And presumably they may also be supplying them to other manufacturers. They are ramping up production of those adapters at their plant in Buffalo, which was originally a solar panel plant. That one, they are apparently ramping up to 8,000 adapters a day.
Cool.
So hopefully those should be available fairly soon. They'll probably start selling them through the Tesla website and maybe some other places as well. And they'll probably be a little more expensive than some of the third-party ones that we talked about. But at least, if Ford and Rivian and others are using them, there's probably a pretty reasonable chance that they'll be safe.
Yeah, the one I used with the Ford, the Mach-E that I had a few weeks ago, it seemed pretty well built. It didn't seem to get hot or anything while I was using it. Yeah. So, if you're going to get it, try to get it from someone who's actually, that's their jam. That's essentially their job.
Yeah. Okay. And then we also had an email from Shamakwa. Says, do any of you have contacts or insight at Tesla in regards to their doing something new? No, we don't. Tesla disbanded their PR department about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And they do not respond to any inquiries anymore from.
My claim to fame is I was the last person that Tesla dealt with their PR department.
Oh, really?
Was it your fault? Were they like, I've had enough?
I did a drive. So I did the Lucid Air drive of their mule, where we did over 500 miles. I didn't drive the car. I sat in the back because it was a mule. And so it was a range run just to talk about Lucid technology. And we just drove around for like 8 hours or something. It was a long. Those range runs are killer. And I don't mean killer like cool, like killer like, oh my God, this is almost over. Because the car just keeps going. And I wasn't even driving. I'm like, I'm so tired. And so Tesla saw that, and so this is when I was at Car and Driver, and they offered me up one as well, and they also offered me access to one of their engineers. which no one had in like forever. And we got, I got some questions answered that people had for years. And so that was great and stuff. But at the end of it, I was like, I was talking to the PR person about something else, PR related. He's like, yeah, so you're the last thing I'm doing. I'm like, what? He's like, they were going into a different department at Tesla because they were disbanding the PR department. Like, yeah, you're it. That's it. You're the last thing I'm doing. So, and it was the day that San Francisco looked like Blade Runner.
Oh,
why?
Yeah, when it went because all the fires and then
okay.
It looked like the sky looked like it was on fire. It was Blade Runner day.
Well, anyway, to finish off this email, it seems like their car updates are all about removing basic functionality, i.e. turn signal stocks, shifters, etc., rather than large interior design or external changes or adding cool, useful features. Do you think Tesla is serious about actually being a car company going forward in the future? What's next after the Cybertruck? I hope they can put more creativity in their lineup. I really enjoy transportation and industrial design and love when manufacturers make cool new designs. I saw a Soul Crystal Red Mazda today. It's incredible. Can that color be reproduced by a paint shop for any reasonable amount of money?
I think I wonder if you could get, like, if I had a Ford Taurus and I went to a shop that did like they were Mazda certified, if they were allowed,
sure you could buy a couple gallons of that paint.
If they would allow, I'm sure they'd be allowed if they're like Mazda certified, and you can get that red crystal magic red color,
metallic.
Yeah. I suspect a good body shop could probably procure that paint for you.
Yeah.
Without costing a ridiculous amount of money.
As for Tesla being a car company,
well, they themselves say they're not a car company anymore.
Elon
says it every earnings call.
Yeah, the CEO says it, which is, it's got to be disheartening for the people who realize they work at a car company, because I think they will. Man, I want Tesla to survive. That's all there is to it. I want an American automaker to that's done well, regardless of my feelings about the man who runs it, who's potentially running into the ground. I want that to do well. I want to survive because there's good people to work there. There are very passionate people to work. The engineers that they have there, some of are not the best in the industry, because they actually believe in the original idea of Tesla, which is to make the earth better through transportation. That said, that when the CEO keeps saying, well, we're not a car company, we're an AI and a robotics company, that throws everything up in the air, because you're just like, well, you're the boss. We make all our money on cars. No one's going to make any money on humanoid robots or AI, because it uses humanoid robots. Why do we need human? Like, unless we're making horror movies, and AI just sucks up a ton of resources. So it's going to be a long time before that makes money. What are we doing? And so it's tough when you're like, okay, are they going to make another car? Are they just going to have the Ford that they have? Are they going to, none of us know.
Yeah.
Only one person really knows. And, I just want an adult to run Tesla. That's all I want.
Yeah. I
know
there is going to be at some point, a refresh of the Model Y, which will have a similar new front end to the one on the refreshed Model 3. So a little bit cleaner design. But, as far as interior goes, if anything, they're just going to keep decontenting it so they can try and drive costs down. You're probably not going to see stuff added to it, but more stuff taken away.
Yeah.
And who knows, someday they might even build another Roadster.
Oh gosh. Yeah. The Roadster. I forgot all about the Roadster. Oh my God.
I mean, that was announced in 2017.
Oh my! I was at that event.
Same time as the semi.
And they came out of the semi, and there was smoke and stuff, or steam, or whatever. The fog machines were going, and it came out. We're like, oh wow! And they they had to blast down the thing. You can't figure out how fast it's going because you're sitting in some stands. But man, we're never getting that thing, are we? I bet those people got their money back if they wanted it back.
No, I doubt it.
They're rich. They probably don't even
gotten it. I would hope.
Yeah.
That's it for this week. thanks, everybody. And we'll talk to you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye. I forgot how